We have a chance to try to extend our season record to 12 games. That's important for us, and that's the only thing that's really pretty much on my mind. And I think that speaks for the masses when I say that. Defense is playing great. Special teams being in their field position. The offense is winning. Point of attack.
Can't get to there until you take care of what's next.
I want to be number one.
Do you think you are the best?
Right now, at the time in life and where I'm playing at, yes.
Oh yeah, what's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn, and this is the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You can check us out every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, where you will listen to me and my homeboys. That's right, break it down Carolina Panthers style from the fan perspective. Joe Riolano, that freaking Puerto Rican, what is up, my man?
Tony, it is another wonderful Tuesday night, and we are privileged to have with us the third member of our three amigos here, Mr. Mel Mayock. Mel, it's great to have you back. I'm ready to talk some Panthers football, just as I know you are, having missed the last few podcasts. What's good with you over there in Nevada, Mel?
Oh, man, I tell you, it's been 3 weeks since I've been on the podcast, dude, and I am jonesing for some C3 conversation. It's been a long time. I've been out there trying to earn a living, but this is my passion, man. This is my hobby, and this is the best time of year, too. We got the draft coming up in just a few weeks, so there's a lot going on, but I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to see the professors in his new crib.
That's right.
Yeah. What's going on?
By the way, we are in the Fat Cat Studios. That's what I'm going to start calling it.
I like
Fat
it.
Cat Studios for the C3 podcast. We also got special guest tonight, C3 writer Trip Morgan, my buddy from Pirate Radio. What's up, my man?
What's up, dude? Ready to be back?
Expected me.
Right on. Well, look, we're excited, guys, tonight. Tonight's episode 15.7. I think we're already on the 16.7. We're already on the 7th episode of the year. That is 2016 for the Carolina Panthers. Tonight's episode, guys, is named Oh Boykin. Dave Gettleman has done it again. We'll be talking the Brandon Boykin acquisition. We're going to address a scandal that C3 found itself emerged in this afternoon, a national scandal involving Cam Newton, supposedly, all fictitious, but it was a interesting way to check Twitter. We got some other things to talk about. It seems there's some sour grapes between Steeler fans and Brandon Boykin, although he's been nothing but smiles. So we're going to break it all down from the fan perspective. If you want to participate in the show, and we'd love for you to do it, use the hashtag C3 on Twitter, or you can drop a comment in the YouTube comments chat. And I will try to keep up with his best, and I know Mel and Joey love to respond as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the show.
Good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
No, I'm just getting warmed up. Here's Charlie facing the fire, and there's George hiding in Big Daddy's pocket.
Dylan and Dylan, because I spit hot fire.
Take a flamethrower to this place.
What's hot on C3? Joe, I'll tell you what's hot. I've been moving for the last week actually, and all I've been doing is working. I wrote my first story for the website last night as we sat around in a coma from all the work we've done. Today I'm at work and busy day. My phone died, and then about 7 o'clock tonight, I finally got it charged up. I checked Twitter, and I get a message from Bill Voth from Black and Blue Review. Said, "You guys are around? Are you guys around?" ? He had sent it to me about 4 o'clock today, Joey, and turns out we were cited as having an interview this morning with Cam Newton. How did that interview go for you? I missed it.
I wish I could say it went so extremely well, and I wish that was a surprise that I had for you. Unfortunately, my surprise was not so fantastic as that. In fact, you still have yet to get the surprise I've mailed to you. But yes, we were caught in this position of supposedly having interviewed the Panthers starting quarterback. They even had a quote that
a long one.
Yes, that he has supposedly said in this interview that we were getting credit for. I found it humorous and at the same time kind of scary that somebody could just throw your name, associate your name with something like that without truly having done any fact checking.
It was crazy. The quote said something to the effect of that in an interview, or it was an article put up by some Denver Broncos website, fan website or something, and it said something to the effect of Cam Newton on a local radio show, and then said our podcast had said that he was not mentally prepared for the Super Bowl and that he was going to destroy the Broncos next season. And so supposedly this took off. Like there was something like 400 comments on Reddit or something about it. And the link was to our website and to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Mel, did you by any chance talk to Cam Newton this morning?
Well, Cam and I talk quite often. He quite often is asking my opinion on breaking down secondary schemes and that type of thing. But no, I did not talk to him this morning. But I'm not totally surprised. Colorado is in my territory. I travel out there quite a bit, and there are some crazy folks out there, man. They don't call them the Mile High Fanatics for nothing. Those guys, they hit the weed a little bit out there. Let's just say.
They're flying high. You know how high I would be if I talked to Cam Newton on this podcast.
Okay. Well, you know what? It is possible though. Maybe he heard about that stellar interview that you had with Mike Minner.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That nobody else got to hear.
Right.
Exactly.
The one nobody heard.
Yeah, the same interview with Cam Newton, obviously.
Exactly.
Let me tell you this, is that I thought I had no idea. Like I saw this took me by surprise totally, and I'm glad that Bill Voth cleared it up, and I'm glad that Bill Voth didn't had no connection, because we didn't have any connection with this.
Right.
Is that it was strange that somebody found our podcast and then cited it. But then, what really makes me mad about this, what really grinds my gears, as the dad from Family Guy would say, is that in the comments section, I'm looking at this Panther fan, and he says something to the effect of, hey, if you just click on the link, it's clear that this isn't true because their show comes on Tuesday nights, and I went through the whole live listing, and there's no references to Cam Newton or anything to that effect. An interview with him. All right, all fine, all dandy, very clear, very accurate. But then he says, and to think that these guys, who aren't even the most popular Panthers podcast, would land Cam Newton.
What?
I know.
Ice up, son. Ice up. Come on.
Get out of here with that, man. Like, you had me, but sorry, bro.
Mm-hmm.
This is
as Missy Russell says out there. As Missy Russell out there on Twitter says, she says free publicity for you guys as a bonus, I guess.
Yeah, with that fake ass Bronco fans.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk about some real stuff and something that C3 was involved with. It wasn't the signing of Brandon Boykin, but it turns out the Carolina Panthers now have two Paul Hornung
Easy for you to say, Professor.
Hornung. It's like it's H-O-R Horning, but
Right.
it's spelled Hornung.
Right, but I think it's pronounced Horning.
Okay.
Like Favre and Favre. You know what I mean?
I got you. So it turns out we got two of these guys on our team, and they both won awards for most versatile player in college football. And that is 2011 winner Brandon Boykin, who was signed this week, joined Shaq Thompson. Joey, tell us a little bit about this Dave Gettleman signature acquisition.
Well, if you look back at Boykin's last couple of seasons, it's been interesting. I think in 2013 he had 6 interceptions, is what I read. So he's got a nose for the ball. He was traded last year when Chip Kelly was doing all that.
He was on a trading spree.
Right, when he was binging and purging, or I guess purging. He was purging the Eagles roster. They traded Boykin to the Steelers, and it's strange. It was a conditional pick, and it was based on how much playing time Boykin received. The more playing time he receives, it would go to a 4th round pick. If he didn't play under a certain number of snaps, it would be a 5th round pick. So they didn't play him much during the early part of the year, and the guys that they were shuffling in and out were just getting beat up left and right. And he was wondering why he was on the bench when he knew he could play better than these guys. And after all, Pittsburgh did go out and actively pursue him to bring him on. So eventually he did get some playing time, and what a big difference he made when he got onto the field. Just a tremendous asset. Suffice it to say, they didn't see the need for whatever reason to bring him back. But, ladies and gentlemen, Boykin is a player. He is a baller, and he plays specifically that slot corner, the position we've been really needing to address once we decided we were going to try Sticky Wicky outside at corner. Boykin is going to be the perfect fit. I really think this is a Dave Gettleman special. Get that guy that's been underused, that's going to come in and have a very big season. I really think he will. He's going to be an integral part.
I think you're right, Mel. Boykin was a casualty, as Joe said, of the Chip Kelly offseason of trades. He shipped off LaShawn McCoy, traded for Sam Bradford, signed DeMarco Murray, and lost his job in the process. Boykin, who had 6 interceptions the year before, goes to the Steelers. Has trouble, I think, cracking into the defense, and I don't think it was necessarily much of him. They used him a lot going into the playoffs. How do you see Boykin, Mel, coming in and helping this Carolina Panthers team?
Well, first of all, I'm still pissed off about somebody saying we're not the most popular Panthers podcast. I need to get that guy's contact information. I'm going to call him after the show. But
we're the most consistent.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes,
definitely
sir.
that.
Yes, sir. And we got the best followers out there. So, but Boykin is a natural fit here, man. I mean, I love it. He's going to play the slot corner, as the freaking Puerto Rican said. It's going to free up Sticky Wicky to go to the outside. He's also going to be a kick returner for us, providing some depth. So I'm excited about it. He's another Georgia guy. We've got a long history of having some great Georgia defenders, and a great trend that I'm seeing from Georgia players. They're taking less money to play for the Panthers because they want to be here. We talked about Charles Johnson turning down $6 million in New York to come play for us for less. Now Boykin said that he got offered $2 million to play somewhere else, but now he's going to be sticking around here, and he took an $80,000 signing bonus. Love it. The guy wants to be here, man.
Wow.
And speaking of that, Mel, you kind of stole the shine from a little later in the show.
It's called a segue, buddy.
Boykin, Steelers Depot, and they've started today. This shows you, and I hate to say that we're kind of part of this culture of just cut rate amateurs doing news and stuff, but I think what we try to be clear is we try to not be a news organization by any means.
Right.
But I think there are a lot of people who are more like us, to be honest, but then try to take on the persona of the news aspect, and make themselves out to be something different than probably they're suited to be, and I think this may be.
You know, there might be organizations out there trying to do what we do, who in their Twitter handle actually say they're Carolina Panther News. I'm not gonna name names, but
here's one right here at Steelers Depot. While Boykin tweeted this today, while Boykin not a Pro Bowl cornerback, you have to wonder if he might have the reputation of being an ass based on what has all happened. Hashtag don't know.
Did you see DW's response to that?
This is Brandon Boykin's response to this. Your speculation has to stop. Been wrong in every aspect all year. Turned down $2 million to go to a place where I can play fairly. What did D'Angelo Williams have to say about it?
He came out and he said, when it comes to Brandon Boykin, you're dead wrong. In response to that tweet there, he said that he's been nothing but a Class A act in the locker room, has not been an ass at all, and he's a great person and a great player.
Yeah, because the only ass, D'Angelo Williams has been a big enough ass for all of them.
Yes, he has.
This clearly has nothing to do with his personality. Here, Legacy brings up a point that I think is a good one to deal with this. And speaking of, he signed for $800,000, $80,000 signing bonus. He basically took the very league minimum for a veteran, it seems like. And Legacy tweets in, I want to know to address why only a 1-year deal, and if we have the option for pickup, etc. And to me, what I think is behind all this, guys, is that Boykin sees an opportunity to play a specific position that he thrives at, which is cornerback, on a defense that is well coached, has a lot of talent on it, with linebackers. You got Charles Johnson coming back. You've got a lot of strength up the middle with K1 Short and Star Lotulelei. And these guys are well coached by Sean McDermott. You got to wonder, hey, how long has it been since Sean McDermott was in Philadelphia?
A couple, 4 years? 5 years?
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I want to say 4 or 5 years.
I want to know is that if he had any interaction with him. He was with the Eagles as a secondary coach. Last year was 2010, so he would not have had any interaction with Boykin.
When did he get drafted? In 11?
11.
Yeah, that was his year. So I was just thinking this is that, all right, so what's the 1-year deal part of this? I think it's very simple, and that is Boykin is gambling on himself this year. Mm-hmm. And that if he comes out and has a good year, he can show that his 6 picks in 2013 were just interrupted by a weird hiccup created by Trip Kelly, and on the right team, he can be an effective contributor. The question is, will the Panthers be interested in a guy like that long term? And, it depends on how Bene looks, I would think.
Yeah, and my thought on that is you got, I think that's part of DG's pitch. That part of Gettleman's pitch to these free agents is, just like Charles Johnson said, Carolina is where DBs come to get paid. Look at Mike Mitchell. Look at Captain Munnerlyn.
Yeah.
So he says, come in, hey, you didn't have the best year last year. You got a lot of upside. Come in and prove it for 1 year. Look at what other guys have done. And they get paid long term. Now, Legacy has a great point. You look at it next year, we've got, if Boykin has a great year, hey, that's fantastic, but he'll be a free agent. If Josh Norman plays on the franchise tag, he's going to be a free agent, or another franchise tag, which would be like $17 million.
Big money, yeah.
And Kurt Coleman is coming up on the last year of his contract. So
Yeah.
three critical pieces of that secondary potentially are going to be free agents this time next year.
Christina says it's our locker room that attracts people. He would have. There's one other connection to Carolina that we haven't discussed with him, and there's two. There's a hidden connection that him and Shaq Thompson have because they're both Paul Hornung Award winners.
Right.
And Shaq Thompson and him met recently at when they awarded the award this year to, I think, Stanford running back.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, and so after he signs, Boykin said specifically he wanted to come to Carolina, and Shaq said that we had talked. He said, "Funny, we talked about this basically last week." So there had been some interaction there. One other piece of the puzzle, Mike Mitchell, who got paid for playing for the Carolina Panthers on a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I think for Boykin, it's an opportunity he saw to maybe win a championship, get at least some playoff experience. He gets to be around fellow Georgia players. He knew Thomas Davis. I guess they played together at one point at Georgia. And he said that
Charles Johnson also.
He said the three of them had talked and had spoken. So they were petitioning. They were petitioning for him to make his way here, and it is a product of our organization, the locker room, coaching, management. All those aspects of our organization are a draw. Charlotte's a great town to bring your family to. If you're married and you have children, Charlotte's a great area to raise your family. There's so many pluses that I think more and more free agents are going to be wanting to come to Charlotte.
Right, and you got a team that is clearly displayed some particularly special attributes going back to how Jared Allen reacted as he joined the Carolina Panthers. That word, as Christina has gotten out, that there is a system, a stability to where guys can overcome some of those soft challenges that we don't get to see behind the scenes, whether it be how you interact with guys, how teammates interact, and how they support each other. So I thought that was an interesting, or that could be like you said, a draw. Let's talk about Josh Norman. He's been out and about. I forgot to tell you, or I forgot to mention earlier, it seems like almost a week ago, but him and Odell Beckham Jr. got into it again.
Surprise, surprise.
Odell Beckham Jr. Tweets out that he made Josh Norman, as Josh Norman was asked on Sports Nation, they hold up a picture and they say of a person, and they're supposed to say like a one-word description, and Josh Norman, they held up a picture of Odell Beckham Jr. and he said he's okay. I thought I was a little disappointed in Michelle Beadle, who I think usually is kind of a high-end sports reporter for the most part. She seems to be a thoughtful person, and I thought it was just kind of sensationalism, typical ESPN type stuff that they've become. But then Beckham comes out and says, I made you, and then Josh Norman comes back. What's going on with Beckham? Is he just a spoiled little brat?
It's tough to. You hate to say that about somebody, but he sure does come across that way. I mean, he sure is trying to make you think that that is the case, that, a lot of these receivers, well, there was a time in the NFL when receivers had a reputation for being divas. And it seems that he's really trying to earn that moniker of being a diva. You hate to say that about him, but it's just, why can't he let this thing go? That's what
I think you're right. I think he's bringing back the diva to, I would say, and I wrote something about this on the website last week, and, we kind of missed that era of the diva wide receiver has come temporarily. You go away from the Randy Moss to Terrell Owens, and I think Randy Moss was kind of a quiet diva. But you get the Terrell Owens, the Ocho Cinco, going back further to Michael Irvin, and then you get guys like Calvin Johnson and A.J. Green, who are the soft-spoken. We're not soft-spoken, as that's just
they're
not
just
limelight
quiet
type of guys.
They're quiet. They're like, we're going to go get it done, and we're not going to hoot and holler and make a big deal of it. We've done this before. We're professionals.
Not just give me the damn, write a book called "Give Me the Damn Ball" type stuff. And then you get Odell Beckham Jr. who's cut from that kind of old cloth. It seems like.
Yeah. And
it's just, I would say, I guess it's cool if you're a Giants fan.
But you didn't see much of that outside of Josh Norman, did you? I mean, you saw a little bit of that out of him in the preseason where he was getting frustrated. But there always seems to be that one guy that can get in your head, and I think Josh Norman just owns the 6 inches between OBJ's ears. I think it's just that one dude that drives him crazy. I mean, there is a certain Falcon fan out there that drives me nuts. I'm typically pretty mild-mannered. I get along with everybody, but there's a certain Falcon fan that just drives me up a wall, and I think this is Josh Norman being the case for OBJ.
He's your Odell Beckham Jr.
Exactly.
If I don't know if they took the analogies off the GRE. Somebody had told me they changed the GRE, but the standardized SAT test, the GREs, flour is to pot as Odell Beckham Jr. is to Mel or something. That is Scott Karasik is to Mel as Josh Norman.
There you go. I'm not naming Scott's name or anything. I'm not going to be out of line. So.
All right. I forgot another thing. Joey, if you could, go ahead and give them a plug about how they could help us this off-season by doing a little shopping on the website.
Look, guys, we have all kinds of stuff coming up, with us and just in your own lives, birthday parties, Mother's Day, Father's Day, 4th of July. We just did Easter. I bought my son something for Easter. And when I went looking online, I went to Amazon, but I went to Carolina Cat Chronicles, the website. We have a tab where you can go and click on a tab. It'll take you right to Amazon where you can do all your shopping. And it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's something you can do very easily since you're going to be shopping anyway. Do it. Amazon is kind enough to give us a little kickback if you go through our site to theirs to buy whatever gift you may be buying, whatever you may need around the house. It's not much. It's only some cents on the dollar, but it helps us grow, and in turn we use that money and spend it to do things for you guys, the fans. This isn't going into our pocket. By no means are we getting rich by doing this. We do this because we're fans, and we have a passion for the Panthers, and we know you guys are fans. So when you do your shopping, go to Amazon, but first go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and do your little bit to help our site grow.
I also, now we're going to get to the end. back half of the show, I think there's another thing that we need to talk about. Bucky Brooks put out, it looks like today or recently, the top pass catching duos heading into 2016. Number 1, Marshall plus Decker. Robinson plus Hearns, number 2. Gronk versus Bennett, number 3. Green versus Eifert, and Sanders versus Eifert. Green and Eifert, Sanders and Thomas are the top 5 catching pass duos. And today it was Greg Olsen tweeted out, emoji. Mel, I think he feels a little disrespected, as Stephen A. Smith would say about him and Kelvin Benjamin. By the way, he mentioned Kelvin Benjamin. Where do you think the Panthers, Greg Olsen and Kelvin Benjamin, can rank on this list next year, Mel?
Well, it's going to be fun to see, man. I tell you, it's fuel for the fire, and I think Kelvin Benjamin is just chomping at the bit to get back. And our boy JP, the Pope, he's advocating we bring in another tight end, and there's been rumors the Panthers are looking at some tight ends, and you get some big boys out there. You get Olsen, Benjamin. You get Devin Funchess cranking out. You get another tight end. You got these big boys, and I think they could really do some damage. So I'm excited to see. I mean, just think about it. We went to the freaking Super Bowl without Kelvin Benjamin. Just think what we're going to do with him if everything goes right. As long as we stay healthy, we're going to get better.
Missy brings up a great point here. Missy Russell 81. You can check her out on Twitter. She said the most laughable part is number 1, Bucky. I threw in the Bucky, but still need someone throw the ball to Marshall and Decker.
Oh.
How can you catch it if they don't have a quarterback?
Ooh, is Abby out there? Abby, we haven't seen you tonight. That's a good question. Hey, let me just say real quick in that vein. Sorry to talk over you there, but I was narrowing down my Ice Up Sun picks for tonight, and the Jets and Fitzpatrick situation was right up there at the top of the list. I mean, you got their best quarterback since Chad Pennington, and he's kind of thinking that he's Brock Osweiler. They're like $9 million apart in their asking prices. It is amazing what's going on out there in the Jets, and I'd love to hear what Abby has to say about that. They didn't win. I got another Ice Up Sun pick, but that was close.
I think that if you get Kelvin Benjamin back healthy and Greg Olsen is obviously feeling it the last couple of years, right? I would say not only has he played well, but he is really assuming or becoming, like, stepping into a superstar tight end role.
He plays every down.
Yeah, and I think he's almost embracing the responsibility that comes with, where he wants to be not just a good player, not just a big-time contributor. He's Cam's man. You know what I'm saying? Like, him and Cam Newton are tight. And then you throw in Kelvin Benjamin, who can't be stopped. I don't know how you put in a tall guy like Funchess. What about Stephen Hill? This Cam Newton coming into his own as a quarterback with Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen could be unstoppable if we see Cam continue to progress at the rate he did last year. JP says this: Olsen plus Kelvin makes nasty duo. No. They don't need to be given respect. They will earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, how important well, KB, what can he do for this team coming back healthy?
Coming back healthy, this is going to be like a whole new offense when he comes back. Kelvin Benjamin is going to draw so much attention from defenses. He was undoubtedly one of the best receivers in the league as a rookie going up and getting the ball between multiple defenders. He's big. He's strong. He's long. So he is going to cause all kinds of headaches for defensive coordinators. You know, we were very effective with our passing game last year. Having him on the field is only going to open things up that much more. I'm excited. I can't wait to see how he's going to help the other guys on the team. You know, of course he's going to get his, but it's the way he's going to benefit the other guys. Ted Ginn, Devin Funchess, even Greg Olsen. They're going to be more open now that he's coming back.
He's unstoppable one-on-one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, he doesn't have to outrun you. He doesn't have to do anything.
No.
He just has to run.
Right.
You know,
then,
I mean, he just has to stand there.
It's that whole basketball type player where he just can box you out, and you have a way of getting around him to get to the ball. You know, I realized there's only like one guy that could really cover him in the league, and that's Cam Chancellor. But even then, him, Chancellor, and Sherman were on Benjamin the one game. Benjamin's rookie year, and he came up with that really big catch right between the two. I don't know if you recall that or not.
I do. It's like a legendary.
Yeah, that was a fan. That just goes to show you just how hard he is to cover.
Yeah, impossible. Mel, you mentioned earlier in the show some important names coming up for playing in a contract year. I just want to read out to you the players that we have for 2016, but who are eligible or will be negotiating contracts next offseason. Mm-hmm. Josh Norman, who is we franchised, 28 years old. Ryan Khalil, 31. Michael Orr, 29 right now, and this is their current age. Star Latulale, 26. Ted Ginn Jr., 30. Charles Johnson, 29. Mike Remmers, 26. Kurt Coleman, who's 27 years old. You know, I feel like he looks like an old, weathered 27.
He does look older than 27. Yes, he does.
Well, you know, all of us 27-year-olds can't look very good.
Good point. Yeah. K'Wan Short, Mario Addison, Teddy Williams, Colin Jones, Robert McClain, A.J. Klein, Chris Scott, Stephen Hill, Trenton Robinson, I don't know who he is, and Brandon Boykin. You know, that's a cool list right there. Think about these. It is a big list, but think about this right here. You're talking about contributors on this team like Michael Orr, Mike Remmers, Kurt Coleman. Yeah. You could say, I would say Robert McClain towards the end. I want to say Teddy Williams, who I really love Teddy Williams, and I think he does contribute a lot. He's had a little trouble with penalties. Ted Ginn Jr., Mario Addison. There's a lot of names right there that it's not like those guys are going to go sign big deals elsewhere. I think that says a lot about Dave Gettleman, Ron Rivera, Mike Remmers, Kurt Coleman. Gosh, Mario, those are just, they're really nobodies. And not offense to them, but they're somebodies in Carolina.
They're role players.
They are.
They're not the core. You saw last year, before the season, we locked up Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly, Greg Olsen, and one other, Thomas Davis, right? So 4 key core players we locked up for relative long term. So, yeah, these other guys are role players, but a lot of them are important role players, like Ryan Khalil. He's a stud right in the middle of that offensive line.
Yeah, and we're going to have to start cycling in guys to replace these in the long term. I mean,
I think that you're going to see that this year. I think the start of that will be this year.
I think the draft will do that. The draft is going to be focused on replacing some of these key role players. Yep.
Yes, that's why we're going to look to draft a defensive end, defensive tackle. We're going to look for interior, for defensive linemen. We're going to look for secondary play, helping the secondary. Still, we're still going to look for that despite signing Boykin.
Right.
What would you, Joey, if you were going to say what are still skill positions, right? You mean obviously you're talking about on offense, you're talking running back, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, skill positions.
Mm-hmm.
What other positions would you classify as skill positions?
I would say on the defensive side of the ball, you got your secondary. All your secondary players would be defined as skilled positions, and even linebackers, I would say, are a skill position.
So would you? So it's possible the Panthers could draft 0 skill positions in this draft. What if they just picked offensive and defensive linemen? Would you even be upset?
Would I be upset? I wouldn't be upset, no, because they do have, I think, with what's on the roster now, they could field a defensive backfield and play the season, provided no one got hurt. Now, that's
Right.
assuming that nobody gets hurt. We could play a full year with who we have, I believe, in the defensive backfield, but we want to develop. So, I believe we will draft some skilled players. But I wouldn't be angry if we only went offensive and defensive line. I wouldn't be mad.
I mean, it wouldn't be that surprising, to be honest. Panthers fan on YouTube reminds us, and I can't believe we talk about short-term memory here. Trent Robinson is the guy we signed last week, safety from Washington.
Oh, right. He's a special teamer. He is a special teamer. Yeah, but
right.
yes, he is.
He was nice about it. I was being like, good Lord, I couldn't even remember him for 6 days. I wonder if he'll be on the team. Who knows? Legacy asks, what 3 or 4 positions do we draft for? You're using free agency to set up. I say that you could probably get away with. I wouldn't be surprised of us trying to get a left tackle who we're going to develop in 2 years and let Michael Orr be the tutor.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. It only makes sense to me, yes.
You can't put in somebody who's green to protect Cam.
No.
We saw what happens, like how much better Cam was when he had decent pass protection.
Yeah.
It was so much better. I don't know if defensive end. You think, when is Dave Gettleman going to take? I guess he took Koniili in the second.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it depends on who's there, right? I mean, if Kevin Dodd out of Clemson's there, that guy is a stud, and
Right.
he has come to visit with the Panthers. He's got a big man's body. He's 280 pounds. He would be definitely in play if he's there. So the 3 or 4 positions I see that we're going to focus on. I mean, surprisingly, I think tight end, I think running back, I think defensive end, I think offensive tackle are some key positions to look for. Running back, Derrick Henry's getting a lot of momentum. He's coming in to visit with the Panthers.
I know. I
Boy,
I just can't see them taking him with the number 1, with our first round pick.
yeah,
Yeah. I know it depends a lot on who's there. That for
It
sure
does.
is what it depends on.
Yeah, I don't think that Dave Gettleman takes a running back in the
No,
first round.
I would be so.
That
I
just
mean-
is so contrary to his entire
yes.
MO.
I don't know. Look at it this
Yes.
way: Gettleman loves big boys.
He does.
The big difference between us and the Saints are small and fast and agile. I mean, they've got Drew Brees, who is small. They got Mach 7 out there at wide receiver, who's small. They got rid of their big tight end. They're just fast and agile. We are just big and athletic and punch you in the face. Derrick Henry fits that mold. Getting off the bus, you got 6'6" Cam Newton. You got 6'5" Kelvin Benjamin. You got Greg Olsen. Then you got Derrick Henry following him up. I wouldn't be shocked.
Is he an every down back?
Why not?
He can
Big
play.
boy.
He can be your third down back, but more for blocking versus pass catching.
Yeah.
Is he
He's-
exclusive to the point? Does he have home run hitting ability?
He does, absolutely. The part that I question about him is that he's so big. is he an Eddie Lacy where he's going to break down? He runs kind of high.
Yes.
I think he's going to.
That's my problem with him.
Yeah, I think
Can
he's
he
gonna
really take? If he's that big, can he take it to the house?
What was his 40? His 40 was pretty impressive.
Right, for being his size, I think he put him like a 4.5 40.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it was like cam speed, right around cam speed. But he is a big guy, but my concern is how high he runs.
Yeah.
Those guys that run high like him, they just tend not to last as long in the league.
But don't be shocked if he's the pick. He'll be in play.
I'm not going to say I'd be disappointed. You know, I really do hope. If he was to be there in the second and we were to grab him, I think that's a good pick.
How about this? I just Googled it, and this is the article that is the headline. Derrick Henry's combine comparison is Von Miller.
Oh, now what?
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
He's 6'2". He's 247, and he runs.
He'll come near side. He's got running room. He's going to get it.
He runs a 4.52.
Yeah, 4.5, like I said.
I don't know. I feel like. Okay, so JP says Lacy is short and fat. Henry has no bad weight. You know, Lacy was not always short and fat, though. He may have always been short, but he was svelte.
He did
first
year. He first came out of college, yes. And then
I feel like that's a lot to invest in a running back.
Me too. With how short their careers tend to be.
All right, so so in about a month, when
we're definitely taking him. We're definitely taking him.
Yeah, when O. Henry is the #1 selling candy bar in Charlotte, and we're trying to get him on the show, but he's looking at these clips about you talking trash about him.
I didn't say that. Oh no, nobody talked trash. Is that I'm just saying that Dave Gettleman seems to me would be interested in taking a boring pick,
right,
over something like that, over a guy, and who knows what is going to happen. He doesn't do what anybody expects. He takes the best player on the board.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him go after a running back early, though. He seems to be content with trying to find a guy in the fifth who may or may not make the team, or may not make a difference. And I don't think that I still think Cameron Artis-Payne is a legitimate threat in the backfield.
I agree. Yeah. He's lost some confidence in the coaches with his fumbles.
Do you think we make too much out of that? I mean, he was a rookie. You know, out of how much that impacts the coaches wanting to go forward with him. You know, our buddy Deshaun Foster had a little issue with fumbling.
That's true. And he's
back
one of
in
the
the
best.
day.
Yeah.
And he was awesome, man. I love Deshaun Foster. I mean, I think that some of those things, if you just look at it, is it a fumbling problem, or does bad luck become habitual? Is the question.
Yeah. Does it get into your head?
Right. That's when it's habitual.
But let me ask you two guys this. You got 4 players sitting there. You got Kevin Dodd, defensive end out of Clemson. You got Derrick Henry. You got Eli Apple, cornerback out of Ohio State. And you got Jason Spriggs, big 6'7" left tackle of the future. Who are you taking?
I like taking the left tackle there.
Yeah. I wouldn't argue with that. Somebody who could sit behind Orr for a year, and then you're not held hostage to Orr saying he wants $10 million a year next year.
I will only take Eli Apple if he's gay.
Connect the dots for me on that one.
There you go. I just felt like saying this is that stupid Falcons asking him that question.
No, they asked him if he liked men.
Yeah.
Not that if he was gay.
I saw that.
And then Charlotte in the midst. Imagine bringing in an openly gay player. Bring in Michael Sam to Charlotte today with the hoopla that has been caused by the North Carolina legislature and this bathroom law. I did see, speaking of, JP says Apple.
Okay.
I think Eric liked it too.
Eric said, "Okay, we'll take Apple."
I'm starting a game right now.
I did see that. What was I going to say? Oh, somebody posted a tweet responding to the law that the North Carolina legislature overturned, and it was a transvestite dude who had like a beard and was wearing like a redneck like hunting cap and was looking like a grizzled mountain man, and he goes, "Guess I gotta go in the ladies' bathroom with your daughter."
We got to get that guy on the show, man.
Oh man, I thought that all of a sudden put it in a different perspective. Because you're tending to think guys dressed like women going into women's bathroom. That's been the scare tactic. But now the woman who is really, she's a man or he's a man, has to go. This is just confusing.
It's confusing, man.
And how do you enforce something like that?
They can't. You can't enforce that.
You can't, really.
Okay. I don't know anything else to talk about, so I need you guys to tell me if there's anything else you want to talk about in tonight's show, or if you just want to ice them up.
Well, hey, man, for once in our career, maybe we'll be in at the hour mark.
Yeah, maybe we'll be on time for a
change. Let's ice it up, unless anybody out there in the Twitter universe tells us something they want, a question they want us to answer. Otherwise, let's ice them up and get out on time.
I know earlier Legacy had mentioned talking about Josh Norman and the absorbent amount of money he's asking for.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that? Do you think he deserves $16 million?
I think if somebody pays him that, he deserves it. But that's
not on this team. Not on this team. I think if he was able to be a standalone corner where you could put him on anybody at any time and he could completely shut them down the way Darrelle Revis did or Deion Sanders did, then maybe he's worth it. But he's a system guy, and if you were to put him on another team in another defense and ask him to go out and shut down the number one guy week in, week out, on an island, all by yourself, I don't think he can do it.
Well, I'm going to come at it from a different perspective. I totally hear you, and I know that's the prevailing thought out there. But let me say, last year the Panthers did not have the dominant rush out of defensive ends that we've had in the previous years, right? Would y'all agree with that? We didn't have Greg Hardy and Julius Peppers, those types of folks.
Right.
So our defense was awesome because our back seven was stronger than our front seven. We actually got coverage sacks, and I really think Josh Norman was the difference. Now, do I say go write a $16 million check for the guy because he asked for it? No. But I don't blame the guy for asking. He's not being disloyal to Carolina or Panther Nation for asking for that kind of money. And I think he settles in $14, $15 million a year. I think the Panthers have to do whatever we can to keep him on the team because we are way better with him as our starting corner than anybody else.
I think that I'm not ready to call. I wouldn't go as far as what Joe said, call him a system guy. I think he's good. I don't think we've seen enough out of him to say that he can ask for the top money in the league. Right. But I think that's what you do. I think you
got to ask, right? I mean, I want $16 million a year. My boss told me to go, go hit the want ads when I told him I wanted $16 million a year. But you got to ask.
I think it's right along the same lines as what we saw with Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell came in, he fit our system perfectly, and he was an incredible asset. But then he went to Pittsburgh, and he didn't have the same impact there right away as he did here. And that's exactly what I'm making my comparison to Josh Norman with, is that he can't go in somewhere, I don't believe, and be as impactful as he was right away with us. And I'm not saying he was right away, but I'm saying our scheme fits his talent the best, maximizes his talent the most, and in a different scheme, he's not the same guy. That's all.
Joe, because I saw this report, but did Josh Norman say he wanted 16 a year? Did his agent? Who actually said this?
Well, I think it was Josh Norman's agent telling him, "Hey, you're worth $16 million a year."
I would love to see the agent start with that with Dave Gettleman.
Wouldn't let him be a follow?
That's what I mean. Dave Gettleman, you're talking about the shrewdest. Dave Gettleman probably said, we said 8 last year. He probably said, we'll offer you 10 this year. They said 16, and Dave Gettleman said 4. Is that I think first we should know that Dave Gettleman, I don't think Dave Gettleman is going to go with Josh Norman, because even if he was a shutdown corner, I don't think that Dave Gettleman believes in putting that type of money into that position.
Right.
I think he's has a simple plan for winning, and that is invest in. You got Cam Newton, you pay him, because without Cam Newton, you're just the New York Jets.
But he is paying $14 million this year.
He is.
But that's just the tag, and the tag is short term. What he doesn't want to do, I don't think that he invests in that position for the long term. And I may be wrong, but if you're going to pay Luke Kuechly, I just think is that he wants to build around Luke Kuechly and K1 Short on defense, and build around Cam Newton and Kelvin Benjamin on offense, and that's the recipe.
But here's what I do if I'm DG. I give him a 3-year deal worth $16 million a year with incentives. If he hits the Pro Bowl, etc., he'll get the $16 a year, and it's voidable on the last year. So guess what, Josh Norman? If you don't produce, the team can cut you, and we didn't lose much. It was still short term, but you got the numbers, but the team is protected. I think that's something they'll end up doing.
Okay, I don't think it's going to happen.
All I can say is, if Josh Norman is worth $16 million, and you tell me how much Luke Kuechly is worth.
You can't do that, though. I mean,
yes, you can. That's more than a fair comparison.
No, I mean, middle linebackers, the best middle linebacker in the league gets $12 million a year.
Is that Luke Kuechly?
Yeah. He's the best middle linebacker in the league. But no middle linebacker is ever going to get, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years down the road maybe as the cap keeps expanding. But the middle linebacker is always going to be underpaid compared to the cornerback. That's just the reality.
I'm talking about actual value to the team, though. What's the value to the team is what I'm comparing here.
But you could have the best left guard in the league that just demolishes people and opens lanes and makes you the best running team in the league, but you're not going to pay him $16 million a year.
No.
I tell you one thing is that Dave Gettleman is not paying Josh Norman $16 a year.
Never.
I'm sorry. Somebody may. It's just not Dave Gettleman.
If he does, will you do the podcast shirtless one night?
Shirtless? You don't want that.
I think it'll be good for our ratings, man.
Got to get jogging again.
I'll tell you, I was going to say, if that's the case, Apple will be tuning in and watching.
Oh, no.
Hey!
Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no, he didn't.
All right. It's 11 o'clock, and we did not get into the hour. Let's ice him up. Joe, who you got for your ice up pick?
Ice up pick this week. It's kind of surprising, but maybe not. Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Super Bowl winner, I think 6-time Super Bowl participant, I want to say. President of the Denver Broncos. Just really makes you wonder what he has got going through his mind. Won the Super Bowl last year. has let a lot of the key components on that Super Bowl winning team leave. I know he couldn't afford to keep everybody, but he really. Anyway, John Elway, you went to, I think, 6 Super Bowls you played in. You won 2. You won 1 as a general manager. You've been to 2 more as a president or your management position within the organization. I think you let this season get away from you already. I know we haven't even played our first down, and I suppose you could pick up a quarterback, but man, talk about slim pickings at the quarterback position. There really isn't a whole lot to choose from now. So I say to you, I think your best shot at getting back to the Super Bowl is if you pull out old jersey number 7 and strap that helmet back on and go back under center for the Denver Broncos. That's your best chance of getting back to the playoffs this year, buddy. So John Elway, this year anyway, I think you need to ice up. So.
Right.
Well done. Hey, did you hear, speaking of contract demands, did you hear how much Von Miller wants?
Oh, no.
No.
$22 million a year.
Oh, my God.
Show me the money!
Crazy.
Lynn says that I should be okay and I don't have to worry about, I should be safe. DG won't do that.
Yeah, you should take the bet, man. Take the bet.
Now, who's your ice up pick?
All right. Well, hey, I said earlier in the week I almost went with the Jets and the whole Ryan Fitzpatrick scenario. So, Abby, since you tweeted and said you tuned in late, you got to go back tomorrow, replay the show, and I want to hear your thoughts on that situation. But this one, it happens every year. And actually this year, somebody that I really like, and it's a prospect that I've been watching for a couple years, but it never fails. I had to ice this person up because it never fails. You get a prospect leading up to the draft, they're fulfilling their childhood dreams of being in the NFL, and they just can't help themselves. They get behind the wheel of the car after drinking too much and get a DUI. I mean, it happens every single year. And I tell you, there is a prospect, young, his first name is Rain Dakota Prescott, better known as Dak Prescott. That quarterback, I tell you, he had 4,435 yards, 62% completion percentages, 27 touchdowns, 588 rushing yards. This is a guy that, it would not be a stupid pick for the Panthers if he was there in the 3rd or 4th round for somebody to have as a long-term backup under a rookie contract that is just like a mini Cam Newton, and he could outperform his contract and actually give us something in return to trade down the road. And you know what? Because of his stupidity, he might be an option for us in the 3rd or 4th round. Whereas before, he was borderline late 1st into the 2nd round type of guy. But, man, come on, Dak. This is your one opportunity in life to go high and get that big contract. You got to do things the right way. Ice up, son.
Panthers fan on YouTube said no to $16 million unless Norman is actually Batman, and we can get the Batman.
All right, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
I am going to ice up this week, and I've been very political over the last couple of weeks. And again, I'm going politics, but I don't know. I think it's barely calling it politics. I'm icing up Sean Hannity. The great American, and the reason I'm icing him up is somehow I was listening to a radio show that used to be a sports station in our town that's now a the conservative talk radio, the FM radio, and sometimes I leave it on just long enough to where I bang my head against the steering wheel or something like that. But we're driving, and my son's in the car, and we've been moving, and I wasn't even listening. Like, I was just had the windows down. It was a nice day, and I just hadn't gotten around to turn the channel. And then Sean Hannity's sitting there, and the callers are calling in, and they're talking about how America is doomed, is that your grandchildren won't be able to do anything. It could take your children 5 lives. All of this, and my son goes in the background, and this, I'm telling you, children, man, they cut it straight, and he goes, Dad, is America gonna be destroyed?
First score was me.
And look, no, I mean, is anybody honestly gonna turn around in their car and tell their 8-year-old kid that yes, these dudes are telling the absolute clear, crystal, objective picture of America, and that tomorrow your future is terrible, Michael Dunn? Come on, dude. Let's just, even my 8-year-old sensed that it was sensationalism, and the fact that so many people believe that America is a place that they don't want to live in, a place that is bad, a place that's falling apart. You know, I'm very happy, and my life is in a wonderful place, and I feel so great to be an American, even in the craziness that surrounds us each and every day. So to you guys who want to believe that tomorrow is darker than today, I say ice up to you.
Right on.
This is the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Mel, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on this show every Tuesday night. So please tune in, share, take a moment, go out to YouTube, share this podcast. We want to continue to grow. It's been growing leaps and bounds over the last year, but let's take it to that next level so that guy mentioned earlier in the show will finally realize that we are the #1 Panthers podcast out there. But other than that, you can catch me at Panthers Drafter anytime you want, and I am also the draft analyst for Draft Attack. There's a new mock draft.
Panthers podcast on iTunes, Stitcher,
all right.
YouTube,
Well, I can't.
anywhere you can catch an RSS feed.
Holy cow!
Hey, what's the C3 podcast without a little bit of technical difficulties, right?
I know. Joey, tell them where they can catch you.
All right, this is Mel said every Tuesday night right here. You can catch us on the C3 podcast. You can also find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. I am the freaking Puerto Rican. And it's, as always, it's been a pleasure, guys. We love talking Panthers football. But more than that, the company is what I show up for every Tuesday night.
Yes, sir.
Mel's a liar. He's not here every Tuesday night, but we wish he was.
I'm here in spirit every Tuesday night.
We wish he was.
This is the C3 podcast brought to you by Carolina Cat Chronicles, coming to you from Fat Cat Studios, baby.
Fat
You
Cat
can catch us
Studios.
next Tuesday. Turns out Cam Newton loves us. He loves the C3 podcast, and you should too. So you should go and get a Cam Wow, Carolina Cat Chronicles, and wave it proudly. And remember, next Tuesday, we'll be here breaking it down, not reporting, but straight retorting. We're out.
Peace.